So I have a chronic illness, and here are my top 10 things that I wish people knew about chronic illness. Number one, I live with pain, and like 50 other weird and random symptoms. But pain is definitely one of the biggest ones. And pain is an interesting thing. It really changes your perspective. I don't know if you've ever heard that story of the frog. If you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water, he'll jump out. But if you throw a frog into cold water and then continually turn up the heat until it's boiling, he won't even realize that he's being boiled to death. Some pain is like that, where I don't even realize. I go through like half a day without even realizing that I'm in pain, but it's affecting everything I do and all my productivity and functionality. There are definitely other kinds of pain where I feel it right off the bat. I have like 5 different kinds of pain, and I'm usually feeling at least one of them at any given moment. And if I tell you that, I'm not in pain at that particular moment, woohoo, praise the Lord. I'm probably having a good moment. But that doesn't necessarily hold true for 5 minutes from now, or an hour from now, or 3 hours from now. Pain is pretty much a constant in my life. So I'm not faking when I tell you that I'm in pain. I really am. I've just learned how to function with it. Number 2, I'm not making it up. I think sometimes people think I'm making it up because I look really happy and cheery. I'm a little bit of an extrovert, so I like talking with people, and I'm spontaneous and stuff like that. But you will only ever see me when I'm feeling well enough to be around people, so of course it will look like I'm not sick. When I am sick, you're not going to see me. I'm going to be in bed. I'm going to be somewhere else. So I'm not making it up when I say I am sick. I'm just, if I happen to be there, I happen to be with you, great. It means I'm well enough to people, as I call it. And if I'm not there, you know why. Number 3, age has nothing to do with it. Sometimes I feel honestly embarrassed because people who are twice my age are able to do twice as many hours at work. And when I tell people that I only work part-time, sometimes I'm scared. I feel like I might be being judged, where they're like, oh, do you have like a work ethic problem? Do you need to get a little motivation? Like, hello, people your age should be working 40, 50 hours a week. And I'm like, I can't. Even if I wanted to, I can't. Last time I tried to, it was a disaster. So age really has nothing to do with it. You can be struck by chronic illness if you're very young or if you're very old. At any time, there's no category for people who have chronic illness. It strikes anybody. And sometimes it strikes the people who look the healthiest and who seem to have the biggest, boldest lives. Number 4, positive attitudes won't cure me. I wish they could. That would be so much easier. I tried for a long time to kind of pretend that it didn't exist. Kind of do that positive attitude thing, and eventually what happened is that my illness caught up with me and it just wreaked havoc. So being positive does not cure you. This whole idea of, well, if you just thought about it more positively, then you'd be well by now, that's not true. That is absolutely not true. Nevertheless, I do try to have a very positive attitude. I try to be as grateful and as positive and compassionate toward others and other-focused as possible. And it does help as far as just coping day to day. You can get really wrapped up in a selfish, like, oh, this is all about me attitude. And I sympathize with that because it is easy to do that. You're just kind of like, no, I just need to take care of my stuff and please don't bother me. And there's certainly times when you have to do that. Just take care of yourself. But in general, being positive, being kind, and other-centered really is the best way to deal with a chronic illness that feels very debilitating. But it doesn't make you well. It just doesn't make you well. It makes you have a good attitude. That's about it. Number 5, it can change very quickly. Sometimes I literally yo-yo back and forth between being unable to walk to being spastic and psychotic. I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that some chemicals in my body are probably like really messed up, and so they're just slingshotting me from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I can't help it. I really try to keep things moderate and whatever, but it can change at any moment. Just because I'm something 1 minute doesn't mean I'm going to be that the next minute. So sometimes when my friend asks me, how are you doing? I say, I'm feeling good this minute. And she understands that because she has chronic illness too. We laugh about how are you feeling this minute, because you can't say that you're going to feel the same 2 minutes from now or an hour from now or a day from now. It's going to change really quickly. In other words, life is completely unpredictable with a chronic illness. Number 6, I look inconsistent, but I'm not. Sometimes people will ask if I want to do X, Y, and Z with them, and I'd really like to, but then I cancel it out at the last minute because, I'm so tired, I really can't do it. And then the next day they'll hear that I went hiking, and they'll probably wondering was she just making it up? Does she not want to be with us? And the fact is, it kind of goes back to that last thing that I said. Everything changes so quickly. So I could be literally flat on my back, not able to do basic stuff 1 minute, and the other minute I'm capable of doing a great deal, running 4 miles, hiking up a mountain, going for a bike ride or a boat ride or something. So what looks like inconsistency in my choices, in the way that I choose to do things, really isn't inconsistent. It's just my way of managing and keeping up with how I'm feeling right at that moment. Number 7, sometimes I can't people, as I call it. Even if I'm having a bad day and if somebody comes to me and says, oh, hey, your best friend is here, I'd be like, great, keep her busy for a couple hours while I take a nap. Literally, I don't care at certain points who is there or what the opportunity is. I'm just too tired to deal with it. And so that does mean sometimes I miss opportunities that afterward I'm like, why did I miss that? I had to see that person. I was just faking it. I was being a hypochondriac. I should have just pulled myself together and done it. But the fact is, when I'm feeling sick, I just can't pull it together and do it. It's impossible. So sometimes so I just try to make it as plain to people as possible that if I can't see you, it's not because I don't want to see you. I probably would love to see you, but I just can't do it right at this moment, or I can't do it as often as I've been doing it, or something like that, or maybe we need to meet in the middle because travel's difficult for me. Number 8, I'm managing the best that I can. Ever since I've tried to figure out what's going on with me and what might help it, I've had a lot of input from a lot of people. Everybody and their cousin and their cousin's dog thinks that they know how to help me. And honestly, I really, really appreciate it when people come up with new ideas that I haven't heard before. So I'm not saying that anybody should stop telling me. Just be aware that if I'm a little hesitant about something, it's probably because I've heard of it before and I've done my research on it and I'm not sure about how it would really affect my situation. Or maybe it's just because I've tried it and it didn't work already. Or something like that. Trust me, I do so much research. I do so many experiments on myself to try to see what works better. And again, if you have ideas, great, I'd love to hear them. But don't feel like I don't care about you if I don't take your advice, because I've got a lot of advice coming at me. Number 9, and this is probably one of the most important ones to me, I don't get well. I get better temporarily, but I don't get well. I've done a lot of research on my particular chronic illness and talked with a lot of people who have it, and it's pretty much considered at this point that you don't get cured. It goes into remission, you manage it, you have a better quality of life at a certain point. It's possible that it can come back and that you need more treatment, but you're always going to live a slightly altered lifestyle. You're never really going to go back to what you were before. It doesn't mean you can't have a pretty good quality of life. It just means you're never truly well again in the way that you were before. When I talk to somebody and they say, oh, how are you doing? And I say, oh, I'm doing pretty well. And they think, oh, great, you're better. And I'm like, no, I'm not better. I'm just feeling reasonably comfortable at this moment. So number 10 is remember the people who are close to the person with chronic illness. And I have my brother here with me because he kind of can speak to that fact that the people who live with somebody who have a chronic illness, they pick up a lot of slack for that person. They deal with a lot of things. It's difficult to deal with somebody who's not feeling well, or who is very unpredictable and unreliable at times, or frankly can have really strange like moods and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll let him speak to that.